The taxi pulled away, leaving Camilla standing before the massive iron gates with nothing but a worn backpack and her grandmother's rosary clutched in her palm. The afternoon sun painted the colonial-style mansion in golden hues, making it look like something from a dream. Or perhaps a nightmare. She pressed the intercom button with trembling fingers. Rodriguez residence, how may I help you? The voice was crisp, professional. I'm Camila Rodriguez. The employment agency sent me. For the housemaid position. The gates swung open with a soft mechanical hum. Camila walked up the cobblestone driveway, her second-hand shoes clicking against the stones. Gardens stretched on either side, filled with roses and jasmine that perfumed the air. Everything here smelled expensive, foreign to someone who had grown up in a two-room apartment above a bakery. A woman in her 50s appeared at the entrance, her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a simple black dress with a white apron, and her eyes held warmth despite her stern expression. You must be Camila. I'm Rosa Martinez, head housekeeper. Come inside, dear. You look exhausted. Meeting the master of the house. The interior was breathtaking. Marble floors reflected the light from crystal chandeliers. Paintings lined the walls, each one probably worth more than Camila had earned in her entire life. Rosa led her through hallways that seemed to go on forever. Mr. Navarro is particular about his privacy, Rosa explained as they climbed a curved staircase. He's a good man, but he's been through much pain. His sister Diana passed away 2 years ago. She was only 19. He hasn't been the same since. Camila's heart clenched. She understood grief intimately. Her grandmother Beatriz had died just 3 months ago, leaving her alone in the world at 17. Your room is here. Rosa opened a door to reveal a cozy space with a single bed, desk, and window overlooking the garden. It's not fancy, but it's clean and comfortable. Dinner is at 7. Mr. Navarro likes to meet his staff personally. The dining room encounter. That evening, Camila dressed in her only nice outfit, a simple blue dress her grandmother had sewn for her 16th birthday. She found her way to the dining room, where Rosa was setting a long mahogany table. Sit there. Rosa pointed to a chair near the head of the table. Don't be nervous. Just answer his questions honestly. The door opened, and Julian Navarro entered. Camila's breath caught. He was tall and lean, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that seemed to carry the weight of oceans. He wore casual clothes, jeans and a white shirt, but moved with unconscious grace. Then he saw her. He stopped mid-step, his face going pale. Diana? The word came out as barely a whisper. No, sir. I'm Camila Rodriguez. Julian moved closer, studying her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. But she held his gaze. His eyes were dark brown, almost black, and filled with something that looked like pain mixed with wonder. You look exactly like her, he said softly. My sister. The same eyes, the same hair, even the way you hold yourself. Rosa placed a gentle hand on Julian's shoulder. Mr. Navarro, perhaps you should sit down. The promise spoken aloud. Julian sank into his chair, never taking his eyes off Camila. How old are you? 17, sir. I'll be 18 next year, on June 15th. Tell me about yourself. His voice was steadier now, controlled. Camila shared her story. Growing up with her grandmother after her parents died in a car accident when she was 5. Working at the bakery after school. Her grandmother's sudden heart attack 3 months ago. The need to find work to support herself through her final year of school. Julian listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I want to make you an offer, he finally said. You remind me so much of Diana. Not just your appearance, but something in your spirit. The way you speak about your grandmother, it's how Diana talked about our mother. Sir, I don't understand. I want to help you. Not just give you a job, but truly help you. Pay for your education, make sure you have everything you need. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. But I need to make a promise, both to you and to myself. Rosa looked concerned. Mr. Navarro, perhaps this isn't. I promise, Julian interrupted, his voice firm and clear, that I will treat you only as a guardian treats a ward. I will support you, protect you, guide you. But I will never touch you inappropriately. I will never take advantage of the power imbalance between us. And I will wait until you turn 18 before I even consider whether there could ever be anything more between us. Camila felt heat rise to her cheeks. Sir, I don't think. I'm saying this because I feel something when I look at you, Julian continued, his honesty startling. I don't know if it's because you remind me of Diana, or something else entirely. But you're 17 years old, and I'm 32. That matters. So I'm making this promise publicly, in front of Rosa, who I trust with my life. I will wait. And when you turn 18, I will ask you one simple question. What question? Camila's voice was barely audible. I will ask if there's any possibility you could see me as something other than your employer. And if the answer is no, I will respect that absolutely. You'll continue to have your job, your education, everything I promised. No strings attached. The weight of words. The room fell silent except for the ticking of an antique clock on the mantel. Rosa's eyes were wide with shock. Camila felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. Why are you doing this? She asked. Julian's expression softened. Because Diana never got to turn 18. She never got to finish school, fall in love, live her dreams. When I look at you, I see a second chance. Not to replace her, but to honor her memory by helping someone who deserves a better life. And if I'm being completely honest, yes, I'm attracted to you. But that's my burden to carry, not yours. You should never feel pressured or uncomfortable in this house. Camila looked at Rosa, who nodded slowly. He means every word, dear. I've known Mr. Navarro for 15 years. He's many things, but he's never been a liar. Then I accept your offer, Mr. Navarro, Camila said quietly. And I appreciate your honesty. But I can't promise anything about the future. I'm not asking you to, Julian replied with a sad smile. I'm just asking you to let me help you. Everything else, we'll figure out when you're ready. If you're ever ready. That night, lying in her new bed, Camila touched her grandmother's rosary and whispered a prayer. She had entered this mansion expecting simply to clean and cook. Instead, she had found herself at the center of something much more complicated. A promise had been made, one that would shape the next year of her life in ways she couldn't yet imagine. 3 months passed like pages turning in a book. Autumn arrived in the city, painting the mansion's gardens in shades of amber and gold. Camila settled into a routine that felt surprisingly natural. She attended her final year of high school during the day while Rosa taught her the intricacies of managing a large household in the evenings. But it was her interactions with Julian that created an unexpected rhythm in her life. The library meetings. Every evening at 8, Julian worked in his library. It was his sanctuary, filled with leather-bound books and the smell of old paper mixed with sandalwood. Initially, Camila only entered to bring him coffee and perhaps a light snack. But one evening, he noticed her lingering by the bookshelf. "Do you like reading?" he asked without looking up from his laptop. "I used to read everything I could get my hands on. But textbooks don't count as pleasure reading." Julian stood and walked to a shelf. He pulled out a worn copy of a novel. This was Diana's favorite. She read it 7 times. "Take it." Camila accepted the book carefully, as if it were made of glass. That night, she discovered why Diana had loved it. The story spoke of resilience, of finding beauty in broken things, of learning that endings could also be beginnings. The next evening, she returned it with her thoughts written on a note card. Julian read her words and smiled, truly smiled, for the first time since she'd arrived. You understand it exactly as she did. This became their pattern. He would recommend books, she would read them and share her thoughts, and slowly, conversation by conversation, they began to know each other beyond their defined roles. The cooking lessons. Rosa noticed the change in the household. Julian, who had barely eaten full meals in 2 years, began requesting specific dishes. Coincidentally, these were always meals that required Rosa to teach Camila new cooking techniques. He's doing this on purpose, Rosa said one Saturday afternoon as she showed Camila how to make pozole. Teaching you through me. He wants to share things with you but doesn't want to overstep his promise. Is it working? Camila asked, stirring the pot. Rosa laughed. Dear child, you smile differently now than when you arrived. And so does he. That evening, when Camila served the pozole, Julian took one bite and closed his eyes. This tastes exactly like the one my mother used to make. How did you know? Rosa taught me. She said it was your favorite. It was Diana's favorite too. Julian's voice grew soft. Thank you for bringing it back to this house. Winter conversations. December brought cold winds and holiday preparations. The mansion transformed with tasteful decorations, twinkling lights wrapped around banisters, and a towering tree in the grand foyer. Camila helped Rosa with everything, marveling at how different this was from the simple holidays she'd shared with her grandmother. On Christmas Eve, Julian invited both Camila and Rosa to join him for dinner. It was the first time the formal dining room didn't feel formal. They shared stories, laughed at Rosa's jokes, and for a few hours, felt like something close to a family. After Rosa retired to bed, Julian and Camila found themselves alone by the fireplace in the sitting room. I have something for you, Julian said, handing her a wrapped box. Inside was a beautiful leather journal and an expensive pen. For your thoughts, he explained. You have a gift for seeing deeper meanings in things. You should write them down. Camila felt tears prick her eyes. This is too much. It's not nearly enough. You've brought life back to this house, Camila. You've reminded me that grief doesn't have to be the only thing that fills these rooms. She wanted to say something profound, but all that came out was, thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for being here. Julian's gaze held hers for a moment that stretched and deepened. Then he stood abruptly. Good night, Camila. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Julian. It was the first time she'd used his first name. He paused at the door, his expression unreadable, then nodded and left. Spring awakening. The new year brought changes. Camila's 18th birthday approached, and everyone in the house felt the weight of Julian's promise hanging in the air like a question waiting to be asked. Julian became more distant, as if trying to give her space to think. But Camila found herself missing their evening conversations, the way his face lit up when she understood a book's deeper meaning, the rare laughter that had become less rare over the months. One April evening, she found him in the garden, standing by a bench under a blooming jacaranda tree. He looked troubled, his hands in his pockets, his gaze lost in the purple flowers scattered on the ground. This was Diana's favorite spot, he said when he noticed her approach. She used to sit here for hours, reading or just thinking. Camila sat on the bench. After a moment, Julian joined her. I've been thinking about your promise, she said quietly. You don't have to say anything. I meant what I said. No pressure, no expectations. I know. But I want to tell you something. Camila turned to face him. When I came here, I was drowning in grief. Everything reminded me of what I'd lost. But you, this house, Rosa, all of it helped me remember that life continues. That people can heal. You helped me remember that too. I'm not Diana, Camila said firmly. I need you to understand that. I can never be her, and I don't want to be a replacement for what you lost. I know that now. Julian's voice was rough with emotion. In the beginning, yes, I saw her in you. But over these months, I've learned who Camila Rodriguez is. And she's extraordinary in her own right. Brave, intelligent, kind, with a soul that sees beauty where others see only ordinary things. The preparation. The weeks before her birthday felt suspended in time. Julian arranged everything for a party, insisting it should be celebrated properly. Rosa coordinated with caterers and decorators while Camila finished her final exams at school. One evening, Lorenzo, Julian's business partner, visited for dinner. He was a jovial man in his 40s who had known Julian since college. "So you're the famous Camila," Lorenzo said warmly. "Julian talks about you constantly. Your book insights, your cooking experiments, your observations about architecture and art." Camila felt her cheeks warm. "He talks about me?" "More than he probably realizes," Lorenzo replied with a knowing smile. "I've known this man for 20 years. I've never seen him like this." Later, as Camila helped Rosa clean up, the older woman squeezed her hand. "Whatever you decide, dear, make sure it's what your heart truly wants. Not what you think you should want, not what would be practical or grateful. What you truly want." "How do I know what that is?" "Oh, I think you already know. You're just afraid to admit it." June 14th. The day before her birthday, Camila woke early. She walked through the mansion, touching the walls, remembering the frightened girl who had arrived here a year ago. That girl had been broken by loss, uncertain of her future. The young woman she'd become was stronger, more confident, but also more aware of the complexity of human emotions. She found Julian in his library, surrounded by papers. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression made her heart skip. "Tomorrow," he said simply. "Tomorrow," she echoed. "I want you to know, whatever you decide, nothing changes regarding your future. You'll start university in the fall, fully funded. You'll always have a place here if you want it. You'll always have my support. And if I say yes to your question?" Julian stood, moving closer but maintaining a respectful distance. "Then we take things slowly. We figure out what this is between us, without rushing, without pressure. We learn each other as equals, not as employer and employee, not as guardian and ward. Just as two people who care about each other. And if I say no? Then I accept it with grace, and I hope we can remain friends. Because you've become too important to me to lose entirely." Camila nodded slowly. "Ask me tomorrow. After the party. When it's just us." "I will." Julian's voice was barely above a whisper. "Sleep well, Camila. Tomorrow is your day." That night, Camila wrote in the journal he'd given her, pouring out her confusion, her fears, her hopes. And somewhere in the writing, she found her answer. June 15th dawned bright and clear, the sky a perfect blue without a single cloud. Camila woke to find a single white rose on her breakfast tray with a note in Julian's handwriting. "Today you become who you were always meant to be. Happy birthday." Rosa helped her dress in a beautiful cream-colored dress that Julian had commissioned from a local designer. It was elegant but age-appropriate, making her feel sophisticated without being uncomfortable. Her dark hair was styled in soft waves, and Rosa insisted on just a touch of makeup. "You look like a princess," Rosa said, tears in her eyes. "Your grandmother would be so proud." The party began at 3 in the afternoon. The garden had been transformed into something magical. White lights were strung between trees, tables covered in linen held towers of delicate pastries and savory treats, and a string quartet played softly in the background. Guests arrived, most of them people Camila had met during the year. Her school friends, some of Julian's business associates who had grown fond of her during dinners at the mansion, Father Miguel from the parish church who had known her grandmother, and several of Rosa's family members. The unexpected announcement. Julian arrived fashionably late to his own party, dressed in a dark suit that made him look even more handsome than usual. When he entered the garden, conversations quieted. He had that effect on people, commanding attention without demanding it. He found Camilla surrounded by her school friends and smiled warmly. "May I steal the birthday girl for a moment?" They walked to a small stage that had been set up near the fountain. Julian took the microphone, and the quartet fell silent. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Camilla's 18th birthday," he began, his voice carrying easily across the garden. "A year ago, a frightened young girl arrived at my door, having lost everything she loved. I made her a promise that day, one that probably seemed strange to many of you." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Camilla felt her heart racing. "I promised to wait until today to ask her a question. And I will keep that promise. But first, I have an announcement that might surprise all of you." Julian pulled out an official-looking document. "Camilla, over the past year, you've shown remarkable intelligence, determination, and grace. You've completed your secondary education with the highest honors. You've been accepted to 3 prestigious universities. And you've done all of this while grieving, adjusting to a new life, and maintaining a maturity beyond your years." He paused, his eyes finding hers. "That's why I've established the Diana Navarro Memorial Scholarship. It will provide full funding for young women who have lost their guardians, helping them achieve their educational dreams. And you, Camila Rodriguez, are its first recipient." The crowd erupted in applause. Camila felt tears streaming down her face. Rosa was crying openly, and several guests wiped their eyes. "But there's more," Julian continued. "I've also arranged for this scholarship to include a trust fund that will provide you with complete financial independence. Not just for university, but for life. You'll never have to worry about money, about having a roof over your head, about being dependent on anyone." The shocking truth. Camilla stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Julian, this is too much. I can't accept." "You can, and you will," he interrupted gently. "Because you deserve it. But more importantly, because I need to know that when I ask you my question, your answer is completely free. Not influenced by gratitude, not by financial need, not by any obligation whatsoever." The garden fell completely silent. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. "Everyone here knows I made a promise to wait until you were 18 to ask if there was any possibility you could see me as more than an employer or guardian. That moment has come. But before I ask, I need you, and everyone here, to understand something crucial." Julian set down the microphone and walked to where Camilla stood. He took both her hands in his touch gentle. "I'm not going to ask that question today." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Camilla stared at him in confusion. "When I made that promise, I thought I knew what I wanted. But over this year, I've realized something. You're 18 today, yes. Legally an adult. But you're also about to start university, discover who you are in the world, meet new people, have experiences that will shape the woman you'll become. Julian, I don't understand. I'm giving you freedom, Camilla. Real freedom. You have your education funded, your future secured. And I'm not going to burden you with the weight of my feelings when you should be discovering your own path." Tears flowed freely down Camilla's face. "But what about your promise?" The real promise revealed. Julian smiled, and there was both sadness and hope in his expression. "The real promise was never about asking you on your 18th birthday. It was about protecting you until you were ready to make your own choices. And now you are. So I'm making a new promise, here, in front of all these witnesses." He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "I promise to let you go. To let you explore the world, discover yourself, become whoever you're meant to be. I promise to remain your friend, your supporter, your champion, but nothing more. Unless, someday, when you've lived your life and know your heart completely, you come back and tell me there's something more. How long will you wait? Camila whispered. Forever, if that's what it takes. Or until you tell me you found happiness elsewhere, and then I'll celebrate that too. Julian squeezed her hands gently. You once told me you're not Diana. You're right. You're Camila Rodriguez, and she's going to do amazing things in this world. I don't want to be the reason you never discover what those things are. The crowd was absolutely silent, many people crying openly now. This wasn't the dramatic romantic gesture they'd expected. It was something deeper, more profound, more genuine. The choice made freely. Camila looked at this man who had given her everything, asked for nothing, and was now giving her the greatest gift of all, her freedom. She thought about the scared girl she'd been a year ago, the woman she was becoming, and the woman she wanted to be. Then she did something that shocked everyone, including herself. She leaned forward and kissed Julian's cheek softly. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for seeing me as more than someone to save or protect. You were never someone who needed saving, Camila. You always had the strength. You just needed time to remember it. She stepped back and addressed the crowd, her voice stronger than she'd ever heard it. I accept this scholarship in honor of Diana Navarro, who I never met but who I feel I've come to know through the stories and love of her brother. And I accept the freedom Julian has given me. I'm going to university. I'm going to study literature and maybe become a writer. I'm going to make mistakes and learn from them. I'm going to live. And maybe, someday, if life brings us back together when the time is right, we'll both know we chose each other freely. Not out of gratitude or obligation or loneliness, but because we genuinely want to build something together. Julian nodded, his eyes bright with unshed tears. I'll be here. Whenever you're ready. If you're ever ready. New beginnings. The party continued with a lighter, more joyful atmosphere. People surrounded Camila with congratulations and hugs. Father Miguel blessed her path forward. Her school friends chattered excitedly about university and the adventures ahead. Later, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, Rosa found Camila sitting alone on Diana's bench under the jacaranda tree. That was quite a speech, Rosa said, sitting beside her. Was I crazy? To turn him down? You didn't turn him down, dear. You asked for time. That's the wisest thing a young woman can do. Do you think he'll really wait? Rosa smiled. I've watched that man grieve for 2 years, convinced he'd never feel anything again. Then you walked through his door and brought him back to life. Yes, I think he'll wait. But more importantly, he's given you the gift of not having to worry about it. You're free to live your life. That evening, after all the guests had left, Camila knocked on Julian's library door. He looked up from his desk, surprised. I wanted to thank you properly, she said, entering the room. What you did today, that was the most generous thing anyone has ever done for me. You deserved it. You deserve everything good in this world. I wrote you something. She handed him her journal, open to a specific page. For you to read after I leave for university. Julian accepted it carefully. When do you leave? Next week. The scholarship includes housing, so I'll be living in the dormitory. Starting fresh. Scared? Terrified? Excited? Both. They stood there for a moment, years of unspoken emotion hanging in the air between them. Camila, Julian said softly. Whatever happens, wherever life takes you, know that meeting you changed my life. You helped me heal in ways I didn't think possible. You did the same for me. She moved closer and hugged him, a real hug, not the careful, appropriate ones they'd shared before. Thank you for letting me go. And thank you for offering to wait. Always. Epilogue, 3 years later. The bookstore was crowded for the signing event. Camilla's first novel had been published to surprising critical acclaim. It told the story of a young woman discovering herself after loss, learning that endings could be beginnings, and finding beauty in broken things. She looked up from signing a book to see a familiar face in line. Julian stood there, older, a few more